נכון, אז אני אעשה.
כל השאר זה דברים שבעל פה.
בסדר גמור. אני פה, אני...
יופי, התחלנו להקליט, אני רואה.
כן, אז אפשר...
Good evening to everyone, חנוכה שמח, happy and healthy חנוכה to everyone. It is an honor for me that Rabbi Levi is joining us. And one of the best things which happened to Eretz Handa is that we have the wonderful and special connection with Rabbi Levi, with Lucian, with the Montefiore Endowment, and with the Bet Midrash. And I want to thank them very much for this wonderful partnership. It's a privilege, and we will go, as Rabbi Levi is saying, Mechail el Chail, Be'ezrat Hashem.
And we're also very honored to work with you.
Toda rabba, toda rabba. So today we will speak about Hanukkah, a miracle which happened to the Jews 2,500 years ago. We will not speak exactly how many years. It's not a simple question. And the establishment of the state of Israel and these special days which we are struggling with a crisis. And you know, the Jewish nation is used to deal with crisis and with very special times. Let's call it like this. When we are asking ourselves, what really was the miracle of the time of Hanukkah, the time of the Hashmonaim? And we are back immediately to London. Hashmonaim and London is going together for many, many Jews and for many, many children in London. But I'm not going to speak about Hasmonaim, the school. I'm going to speak about the Hashmonaim, which had the miracles so many years ago. So I want to read you one sentence from the Rambam. The Rambam in Ilchot Chanukah and Purim is telling us one fact. וחזרה מלכות לישראל יתר על 200 שנה עד החורבן השני. The Rambam is putting the miracle of the oil, the holy oil, the Pach HaShemen, the miracle of renewing the worshiping of Hashem in Beit HaMikdash, the miracle of the way that the Jews could again keep mitzvot and learning Torah, to the fact that the Jews have an independent state. וחזרה מלכות לישראל יתר על 200 שנה עד החורבן השני. Historically, when we are looking back to this time, to this era, we must pay attention to two facts. The first fact regarding the Hashmonaim, the independent state exists only 3 generations. After 3 generations, the Jews in Judea, they lost their state and they became a part of the Roman Empire. It was much more shorter than 200 years. Second, if we are looking on Jewish history, the time that the Jews had an independent state was really in Jewish history very short. From the time of Yehoshua ben Nun, 3,500 years ago, till today, the periods of time that the Jews had an independent state is very short. We had it for some tens of years in the time of Yehoshua ben Nun. Then in the Kufa, in the era of the Shoftim, we didn't have a united nation. Every tribe was separately. Sometimes some of the tribes tried to take care about problems together, but most of the times we are speaking about every tribe with different issues, with different agenda, and the most sad part of the time of the Shoftim was when we had, unfortunately, it's a shame, a fight between brothers in the time of what we are calling Pilegesh Bagivla. Then we had a short time when Shaul became a king, and a short time, really less than 80 years, when King David and King Shlomo were the kings. Then they separated to two kingdoms, the kingdom of Judea and the kingdom of Samaria in general. We didn't have a united nation with one state. Most of the time of the Second Temple, in the beginning, we were a part of under the Iranian Empire. Then, when Alexander the Great took over the Persians, we were a part of the states of the descendants of Alexander. For a short time, we have a small, very small, independent state in the time of the Hashmonaim, and then the Romans took over, and we lose our independence completely, and 99% and more of the Jewish nation were all over the world in diaspora. Even today, half of the Jewish nation, maybe more, are not physically a part of the state of Israel. This is putting on our shoulders today a big responsibility. How we can make sure that the miracle of the Hashmonaim, which the Rambam put under the title Chazra Malchut LeIsrael, will be relevant also for us in our generation. And we cannot take it like that we have an insurance that it will be forever. We must be aware, we must be very careful to keep the very special gift which Hashem gave us, a Jewish independent state. And a Jewish independent state is not only a political part of Jewish life, it's really a part of Torah. We cannot worship Hashem according to the Torah in a complete way. We can do it only when we have a Jewish state. Many mitzvot have a connection to the question if we have a Jewish independent state or not. And practically, it's very important to have an independent Jewish state. I will give one example. The possibility for such many people learning Torah today is the result of having a Jewish independent state. The way that everyone can keep mitzvot without any problems is also a result of having a Jewish independent state. With your kind permission, I will share with you a story which I had the privilege to be a part of it. A very special story, a story regarding saving the life of 23 IDF Jewish soldiers almost 50 years ago, in the time of the Yom Kippur War. This story has connection to two major topics. One topic is the place of the Talit in the life of every Jew. Second, the big miracle which happened to the Jewish nation in the last more than 70 years, that Jews from everywhere came to what they called Palestine, and after the state of Israel, the young state of Israel. And even though that people came from many, many places with many, many ways of life, of worshiping Hashem, of languages, of culture, they all together build up one of the most wonderful places on the globe, one of the best states all over the world in many, many, many aspects. If the vaccine for the corona is something unbelievable, think about it. Who is dealing with producing a vaccine? The United States of America, 350 million people, the richest and the strongest state in the world. England, with almost 100 million of people, and the small state of Israel with less than 9 million people. And you, a young state, which came out from the ashes of the Holocaust. It was a desert 80 years ago, and today it's a center of the world. Yesterday on the news, they spoke about two companies, Tesla, the famous and the strong company in the United States of America, one of the leading companies in high-tech and in producing cars who will be autonomous. There are two major places in the world who are trying to develop such a car that maybe it will help us also on Shabbat in many, many aspects. I'm not going to speak about this halachic question, but it can change the world. Anyway, it can change the world also dramatically, taking it down car accidents 90% down, Be'ezrat Hashem. And Tesla from one side in America, and what we call in Israel, in Yerushalayim, the company of Professor Sha'ashua, which was bought by Intel some years ago, but the center and all the activities is in Yerushalayim. They are competing regarding who will put the first autonomy car on the road. And for now, the Yerushalmi company is stronger and advanced more than Tesla. But nothing is for granted. What we are supposed to do to make sure that such successful things and miracles, it's really a miracle, such things like this, will continue and will be safe. And with your kind permission, I will start with the Talit. The Talit is something which escorting every Jew from the moment that he was born, and if he a male, from his Brit Milah, and if he is a male or a female, till, and again if he is a male, till the day that he is going back to be a part מהעפר באת and לעפר תשוב, and every Jew male is coming with his talit. And in between, every day, we are using the talis. Every Shabbat, this is the most important part of our celebrating Shabbat, to go with the talis. Every Chag, the talis is very significant for us. Every Jewish event, bar mitzvah, wedding, everything, the talis is very significant. The talit is escorting us almost every day. This talit is also the topic of the most popular Mishnah and Gemara. When a Jewish child is starting to learn Torah, Gemara, almost every time, which Mishnah is coming up? Shnayim ochazim betalit. זה אומר כולה שלי, וזה אומר כולה שלי. יחלוקו. And we need to ask ourselves why this Mishnah is so fundamental, is so basic. Why almost everyone is starting to understand the way of thinking Gemara by learning this Mishnah. Even though that no one of you, I can guess, didn't see never two Jews running on the street trying to get first a talit on the street. Shnayim ochazim betalit. But Shnayim ochazim betalit is a symbol. Shnayim ochazim betalit is a symbol for Jewish life, because the Jewish life is always a struggle. Who is more important? The body or the soul? And every side of the personality is saying, the talis belongs to me. Judaism is based on life on earth. The body is saying, without the body, you cannot keep mitzvot. And the soul is saying, no, it belongs to me. Without a soul, without Jewish spirituality, you are not Jewish. And what is the psak? The psak is yachloku. What is the meaning of yachloku? That both of you are right. And if you are taking only one side and you are leaving the other side, the meaning is that we have no full Jewish life. But Shnayim ochazim betalit is also the base of Jewish justice. And I will give an example. There is a big machloket between Rashi and Tosfot. When we are giving a psak of Yachloku. What must be the principle of justice beyond? One opinion is that we are making Yachloku only when we are sure that there is no one who is cheating. The second opinion is that we are making Yachloku only when to divide can be justice. But if to divide is not justice, we are not paskening Yachloku. And this is a very important dispute, which is giving us the answer to the question, what is Jewish justice? Is Jewish justice is a fight against the cheaters? Or Jewish justice is to find something which can be emet. חלוקה יכולה להיות אמת.
I'm struggling to
I
hear.
will not
Is
explain
anyone else
now
struggling
the
to hear?
nafkaminot and other things around it. I only want to explain why שניים אוחזים בטלית is so important. And without a legal Jewish system which is based on justice, we are not a Jewish nation. It's something fundamental. This is one of the reasons that to have Dayanim who are understanding what is Jewish justice is very, very, very important. It's not one more question. It's fundamental. It's the base of Jewish life. Jewish life without justice is not Jewish life. Even if you are keeping many mitzvot and you are eating kosher and you are keeping Shabbat and doing many more mitzvot, without Jewish justice, it's a big problem. And even Rabbanut, it's not only Dayanut, must be based on Jewish justice, of truth, of emet, of tzedek, of tzedakah. Tzedakah and mishpat. But after this introduction, which was based on two things, the Jews who came from every segment, from every corner to one place. And the task I want to share with you my private story, which really is not private. And I will start the story in the year 1923. On 1923, Great Britain had the privilege to be the masters on what we call today Israel, in this time Eretz Israel or Palestine. It was a big improvement because the British government tried to bring more justice to this place, Eretz Israel. And you cannot compare what happened with justice when the Ottomans were here till 1918 to the time that the British Empire took over the place from 1918 till 1948. I'm now going to the year 1923. In a Jewish place, Yavneel, which is mentioned also in the Mishnah, Bikat Yavneel, not far away from Tveria, was born a Jewish baby boy. His name was, remember the name, Menachem Lunz. Menachem Lunz was a descendant of many rabbis, but his family, his private family, were not observant. They lived in Yavnel, they were farmers, and they had a baby boy, they called him Menachem Lunz. Lunz was the family name, Menachem, a very symbolic name, was the first name of the baby boy. When this baby boy became a teenager, the struggle between the Jews in Eretz Israel and the British government became bitter. After the end of the World War II, especially then, there became a fight not only between the Jews and the Arabs. In some meaning, it became also a fight between the Jews and the British government. And there was an extreme group. In Hebrew, their name was Lehi, Lochamei Cherut Israel. But we know that they were extreme. The British government called them, and if I'm making a mistake, correct me, the Stern Gang. It was not something which means we love you. And it was a bitter, bitter struggle between these extreme Jewish people and the British police in Palestine. I'm not going back to this issue, but one day, it was 1944, the British police came to Yavnel and they killed Menachem Lunz because he was a member of the Lehi, what they called the Stern Gang. Six years later, 1950, the state of Israel was established. And another couple in the Lunz family had a baby boy. 1950. And they called the new baby Menachem Lunz. This Menachem Lunz grew up in Haifa. He served in the IDF as a tank crew member. When he finished his duty in the IDF and he became a reserve soldier, he was learning chemistry in the Technion in Haifa. This is Menachem Lunz second. Okay. Now we are jumping to 1973. On 1973, Menachem Lunz II married his girlfriend for many years, Rivka, as a wife. On 1973, that citizens of the state of Israel were sure that there is, or there are, three very strong states in the world. The states in America, the Soviet Union, and the state of Israel. The question is, who is number one, who is number two, and who is number three? And it was not simple to give the answer according to this opinion. In the IDF, everyone was proud and was thinking that for the IDF, one of the generals were asked, what are you going to do if you will get a command to take over Egypt? And his answer was, I will ask what to do in the afternoon. Let's go a little farther. Somebody in the States, his name was Ephraim Holland, an Orthodox Jew. Today, he is living in Yerushalayim as a Haredi Jew. He is almost 90 years old today. In 1973, he was in his late 30s. And he made Aliyah from America. And because he became an Israeli citizen, he needs to go to the IDF. So the IDF took him for 3 months. They taught him how to hold a gun. He was not an expert. And on the beginning of October 1973, they call him for a service in the IDF reserves unit, and they put him on the Suez Canal. It's a part of being proud that we are the strongest in the world. Okay. 1973, Yom Kippur, October 6th, a big surprise. A big danger to the state of Israel. The Syrian army and the Egyptian army attack Israel with a big surprise on Yom Kippur, which was also Shabbat. On the first day of this war, and this is an exact number, over 1,000 Israeli soldiers were killed on the first day of this terrible war. It was a disaster. And try to imagine what happened to such a soldier like Ephraim Holland, a new Ole Chadash, who served 3 months in the IDF. He was on the first line as disaster. I was in the yeshiva, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, a truck came, somebody went down from the truck with the list, I was on the list, the IDF is calling you. I was 3 weeks after my wedding, my wife is asking me for how much time you are going. I told her I will come tonight back. If the last war took 6 days, this war will take 6 hours. I will go a little further in the story. One day before Yom Kippur, the intelligence got very strong messages that a war is coming soon. The IDF sent 100 more tanks to the Suez Canal from the school for being tanks crew members. The school was near Ashkelon. They sent them to the Suez Canal. 100 tanks against 3,000 Egyptian tanks. You can understand. When I arrived to the Suez Canal on Monday morning, there were only 3 Israeli tanks in all the northern part of the Suez Canal. You can only imagine what happened to the 97 others. And I want to mention 3 names. One of the names is Ilan Guidon. Ilan Guidon was the son of one of the very famous members of the Palmach. The Palmach was a part of the Haganah, much more center part of the Israeli society. His name was Moshe Mursi Guidon. He was a very high officer in the IDF. And his son, Ilan Guidon, remember the name, became an officer in Bet Sefer LeShirion, and he was the commander of 3 tanks who was on the Suez Canal in a place under the name Maoz, not Maoz Tzur, Maoz Milano. Together with him was his friend Gil Ophir. Gil Ophir was from the Na'alal village, a very famous village in Israel. Moshe Dayan lived there and others. Both of them secular, not declaring themselves as observants. And they found themselves on Yom Kippur in hell. Thousands of Egyptian soldiers attack with a lot of help of tanks, artillery, Air Force, the Maoz under the name Milano. And who were the fighters? People like Ephraim Holland. Okay, they fought bravely against the Egyptians from 2 o'clock afternoon of Shabbat Yom Kippur till Sunday midnight. On Sunday midnight, the situation was terrible. They decided to leave the place. 45 IDF soldiers left the place trying to join the IDF forces who came closer to the Suez Canal. In the morning of Monday, they could hear the engine of tanks coming closer. And the people who were crew members of the tanks told them, this is the noise of an Israeli tanks unit. It was my unit. I was a crew member of the tank. I was also the rabbi of the unit, but I was a tank crew member. And we tried on Monday morning to come closer to the Suez Canal and to try to fight against the Egyptians. This group of the 45 IDF soldiers who left their place midnight between Sunday and Monday, on Monday morning, they were only 23. What about the others? Some of them were killed on ambushes of the Egyptians in the middle of the night. Some of them became prisoners by the Egyptians. Only 23 survived. And when they heard the sound of the Israeli tanks, they were so happy and they ran towards our tanks. Our tanks were not ready to the war because everyone was too much proud. Ga'ava is a bitter, bitter, bitter disease. One of the most important things when you are taking your tank to the battlefield is to prepare the cannon with the telescope to work together. Without it, the chance that you will bring and you get the target is close to zero. And this was a miracle. Because when we saw the group of the soldiers running towards us, we couldn't even imagine that we are speaking about Israeli soldiers. We were sure that they are Egyptians. And the command was shoot them. And we tried. Thank God we didn't succeed because we were not ready. But these soldiers immediately disappeared. We were so proud, we are heroes. We only started to shoot and they're running away. So they disappeared. And they were confused because we are speaking about Israeli soldiers that in one side they are afraid from the Egyptian army, and in the other side, when they saw the IDF tanks, we were shooting towards them. They were confused. They were desperate. Ephraim Holland took out his talis and tefillin, praying to Hashem that Hashem will help them in such a situation. Then, Ilan Guidon and Gil Ophir are telling him, Ephraim, give us your talis. We will take your talis and we will go both with the talis towards the Israeli tanks. And then they will understand that we are Jewish. Another fact was that in every tank you need 4 people to fight. But, as I told you, nothing was prepared well. We were only 3 in the tank. The commander, the name of the commander was Menachem Luntz II. My friend, Danny, was the driver. And I was the one who was in charge of shooting with the cannon. Okay. Ilan Guidon and Gil Ophir, remember the names, took the talis from Ephraim Holland, and they are starting to go slowly, slowly, not running, towards our tanks. The command was to shoot. They are going to make us an ambush. This 2 is coming from this way, and the others will come from other direction. But I took a look in the binocular, and I saw 2 black strips on the white flag. I understood, thank God, immediately that this is the talis. I shouted in the radio, stop shooting. They have a talis, they are Jewish. They are IDF soldiers. We came closer, we met them, and they told us the story. What happened to them? How they lost so many friends. What happened to them from Yom Kippur till Monday morning. Such terrible time. And we told them we are going with you with 1 tank to take all the 23 IDF soldiers who survived. We put them all on our tank. It was a surrealistic picture. Try to imagine 26 people on 1 tank. But thank God, we had the privilege to save their life because they had a talis. What such a symbolic thing. And really, the Israeli flag is also a talis. It's a talis with a Magen David in the middle. But the 2 strips are the strips of the talis. Okay. We took them to a place that another group of IDF soldiers waited for them. And then Menachem Luntz II is asking the members of the group, who agreed to volunteer to join our tank because we are only 3 and we need a 4th one. Immediately, a soldier who made Aliyah from Iran, his name was Menachem Guidon, said, I'm going back, I'm with you. Try to understand what's such an hero. He was fighting day and night for 2 days. He was with miracles going out of hell. and he volunteered to join us and to continue the war and to continue to protect his state, his nation, his friends, his family. And he came back with us towards the Suez Canal. Gil Ophir and Ilan Guidon also volunteered to join our unit and to continue to fight to defend the state of Israel. Okay. We went with the tanks further towards the Suez Canal, and then we saw 2 Egyptian tanks. We tried to fire them, but they were in a better position. 4 bombs was sent from them towards our tank. 1 bomb was on the left, 1 bomb was on the right, 1 bomb was in the front, before the tank, and 1 bomb was inside our tank. Less than half a meter from my head. But thank God, I was a little wounded, but I'm still alive, Baruch Hashem. But Menachem Ganon II was killed immediately.
Ganon or Luntz?
Menachem Luntz II was killed immediately. Menachem Ganon told my friend Danny, the driver, go immediately back, and he saved his life, and he saved our lives. Unfortunately, Ilan Guidon was killed some days later in the war. Many years later, one day, some days before Yom Kippur, about 30 years ago, I got a phone call. Gil Ophir from Nahalal is calling me. Rav Carmel, do me a favor. I am not an observant, but I got deep feelings. I must find the talis which saved our lives and to go with the talis every Yom Kippur to Shul, to thank Hashem for the miracle. I did a lot of efforts. I found Ephraim Holland. I told him about the request of Gil Ophir, and he immediately told me the talis is going to him. Ephraim Holland, a Haredi Jew in Yerushalayim. A new immigrant, Oleh Hadash, from Arzot Habrit, is giving his talis, which saved his life also, to Gil Ophir, a Moshavnik from Nahalal. And from this day, almost every year, before Yom Kippur, Gil Ophir is calling me, Rav Carmel, I want to thank you again. I am taking this talis this year as well to the shul. But this is not the end of the story. Gil Ophir was a good friend of Ilan Guidon. Gil Ophir got married in 1975. And the first baby boy which they had, he and his wife, was named Ilan. Ilan, after Ilan Guidon, who was his partner taking the Talit, and was killed in the Yom Kippur War. This Ilan of fear became also a soldier in the IDF, and he became also a commander of a tank unit. And he went to the Lebanon Second War. And when he came back, Baruch Hashem, after a lot of miracles, he told his father, and his father told me, that from now both of them are going with the same Talit to Yom Kippur every year, on Yom Kippur every year, to the shul to thank Hashem. We have a wonderful example how the Talit is making the connection between Menachem Luntz, between Gil Ophir, between Ilan Guidon, between Ephraim Holland, between Menachem Ganon, everyone from another part of the Israeli society. Everyone is belongs to another segment of the Jewish nation. But all of them are united around the Talit. The Talit belongs to everyone, to every Jew. No one has the privilege or the permission to say, no, the Talit belongs only to me, only to my segment, only to my friends, only to my party. No. The Talit belongs to every Jew. Only if we will be united, only if we will be mechabed, every Jew, every opinion, every way of life, even if it's not like us, only if we will give dignity, only if we will be tolerant to the way that every Jew is worshiping Hashem in his way, we will be much stronger. We will be in a situation and in a position that Hashem will help us to make the future of the state of Israel and the Jewish nation safer. This is one of the strongest messages of the time of Hanukkah. This is something that we need to take with us all over the year, all over the situations that we are finding ourselves as Jews, as rabbis, as dayanim, as mensch. This is the message that we want to bring to the Jewish nation, to all the citizens of the state of Israel, to all the Jews all over the world, and really to the whole world. If somebody wants to ask anything, I'm here.
A very powerful story, Rabbi Carmel. Very powerful
I
story.
didn't hear you. Please
It's a very
speak
powerful.
loudly.
It's a very powerful story.
Thank you.
Very thoughtful. It was in the Second Lebanon War. It was a very dangerous war.
Yes. Yom Kippur was a very, very bitter time and a very terrible situation that really our future was not sure. I didn't tell you all the stories, it's only one story. But we really, in our generation, have not less miracles than we compare it to the time of the Hashmonaim or even to the time of Yetziat Mitzrayim. And the obligation to keep it and to keep the Jewish nation and the state of Israel safe is a very, very heavy responsibility. Only on this way we can do it better.
May I just say something, please, Rabbi Carmel? A few years ago, Diana Moore passed away. He was loved by all of us. He was a big Talmid Chacham. And there was only Anava there. And then I didn't know where to turn. Where do I go? Who will succeed him? How are we going to go forward? And then we heard about you. And we knew how you had been to the army. And we knew that one of the things that encourages you to include a pupil in Eretz Chemda is if they have been to the army, which is just the opposite of a lot of yeshivot in Israel. Not only will they not touch them, but they start getting nasty towards them, which is something which I, as not a particularly clever Jew, can never understand. In the simple meaning, I couldn't, and I still can't understand it. But thank God we found you. And we found a yeshiva where you give priority to students who have been to the army. And therefore, thank God, HaKadosh Baruch Hu guided us to you. And what you have said tonight only strengthens our desire to carry on working with you, to do more and more things together for Am Yisrael, and to be able to boast that we are going to a yeshiva where you can only go in if you have been to the army, and you have saved the Jewish people, and you have given us that example. And I thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu that when tragically Diana Moore passed away, we were guided to you. And thank God that that has happened. We thank you for the story of tremendous, tremendous emotion that you just told us. We know that you have fought in the army, you have been wounded in the army. And that's why when my oldest grandson said to his father, "Daddy, I want to go to the army," immediately my son gave permission. Rabbi Asi Mittelman also knew him and spoke to him, and they discussed which units they should be going to. And to me, it's a great sense of pleasure that my grandson, who's named after me, because, you know, we Sephardim, not only do we name after the living, we are annoyed if we are not named when grandchildren are born. So thank you. Thank you for the inspiration you have given us tonight. And thank you for carrying on in a visionary way to see how we can do more and more and carry on doing even more. We started with the Semicha program. We then fought with Dudayanut. It wasn't easy, you know. there were plenty of people, very important people, who said, Dayanut, under no circumstances. We will not allow you to do it. And the more they told me we will not allow you to do it, the more determined I was to do it. And today, thank God, nearly 30 students from all over the world who have been examined by Dan Livnet and by you of the right standard, we don't take everybody, are learning all over the world to become Dayanim. And it is for that reason that we thank Kadosh Baruch Hu that he brought you to our lives, and that we should continue to do more and more with Eretz Chemda to bring the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu to anybody who's seeking. As you said also in your speech, this one is not religious enough, this one is not black enough. I personally believe that Miflagot Datiyot, religious parties, have done more harm than good to Israel, because it's created enmity between Jew and Jew, and that is never the way that HaKadosh Baruch Hu would want it. So thank you again. Come back and inspire us on other occasions. Thank you.
תודה רבה, Rabbi Levi. We will continue to go on our way that we are believing and to give the honor and the understanding to every Jew, and we will be a center for all segments of the Jewish nation that will be a part and will enjoy the Torah is coming out from Eretz Chemda Be'ezrat Hashem.
Thank you. Thank you again. Thank you.
חנוכה שמח to everyone, ולילה טוב. אפשר להגיד עוד חודש טוב, ובעזרת השם יהיה הרבה אור, וגם נוכל להתראות בקרוב, בעזרת השם, פנים אל פנים, בארץ ישראל או בלונדון, בעזרת השם בקרוב.
אמן, אמן.
אמן, אמן. תודה.
אמן, תודה רבה.
בבקשה.
Thank you.